First, should doctors call off strikes? This week, resident doctors, who used to be known as junior doctors, plan to start a 5-day walkout over pay. They want now a 29% salary increase, which they say would reverse pay erosion. The Health Secretary says that's not doable. Wes Streeting held talks with union leaders last week, which both sides called promising, but they didn't reach a deal. Instead, the government is considering concessions like writing off student debts. It's been warned 5 days of strikes could break the NHS. Narinder, do you support them?
I really do support them, and I actually feel very sorry for them, especially the narrative around and the comments I see that they're so greedy and they've had their pay increase. But I think people aren't understanding they want full pay restoration because they've had no pay increases for the past, since 2008, is it? And I know people are saying, well, they've had more than anybody else. But it's a bit like saying, look, we owed you a tenner, here's a fiver. And, well, we can't give you the other fiver. They deserve that full £10. I'm putting it really simply. And
to take them back to where they were in 2008?
Yeah, and so that and you've got to think about, do you appreciate the NHS? Do you appreciate the hours these resident doctors are putting in? The fact that it's unsociable hours, they're in hundreds of thousands of pounds of debt. And here we are, and we're at risk of losing them. A lot are going over to Australia, where their pay is amazing, brilliant working conditions. I don't think we should be, as a country, looking at our doctors and saying, no, we're not going to give it, you're greedy. Because actually they're saving lives.
What do you think, Claudia?
Their whole case on this rests on this supposed 21 to 23% real terms pay cut since 2008. Now, firstly, I don't know why they've chosen 2008, unless it was something that was really going to make their figures stack up in the way they wanted to. But they've come up with this real terms pay cut based on the retail price index, the RPI. It's a measure of inflation that has been discredited and it's no longer used by the government. It hasn't been used since 2013. So the fact that they're using it when it's not even used as a national statistic and hasn't been done for over 10 years, and the reason they don't use it is because it systematically overinflates overstates inflation.
But they're not lying, Claudia, because they were wanting something like, their PAs are more money than them.
Why don't they use
so they wanted something like £12. They got £15, but they want
the consumer price index, which is what the government use, that's what economists use. The CPI is globally accepted as the way to measure inflation.
Because actually a lot of their wages, when you look at their average, the reason why people think, they're on so much, you're looking at over hours, they're working overtime, they're working unsociable hours. You seem to forget, have you put yourself in their shoes at the these junior doctors? Do you want to retain doctors, you want to lose them?
Their average basic salary...
No, answer that question. Do you want to retain
or lose them? Of course retain them.
Right, then, to pay them what they deserve.
All right, Claudia.
Their average salary from 25 to 26 is... for a junior doctor, bear in mind we're talking about junior doctors, is over £54,000.
That's from overtime.
That
includes overtime.
No, it doesn't. No.
I'm sure if it includes overtime...
Well, overtime adds on another average 30%, which takes them up to 70,000.
And that's what you miss out, isn't it? You miss out the fact they're getting overtime. And
they're also in
very good pension.
in hundreds of £1,000s of debt. So I think Wes Streeting...
They're not in hundreds
They
of
are.
thousands. No,
they actually are in debt.
No,
they're in so much debt.
No.
That's why Wes Streeting is proposing that actually will wipe off that debt.
A student doctor now is on average finishing university with around £80,000 worth of debt. Which
okay.
Which is paid
on average,
as all student debts are.
Resident doctors starting off 38,800. Obviously, that increases.
And their PAs are on more money than that.
Their PAs are on more money. OK, David in Cumbria, what do you think? The doctor's doing the right thing here?
Hi, I'm going to just give you a little bit of lived experience because I had my gallbladder removed on Thursday and I had it done privately because otherwise I'd have had to wait 24 to 36 weeks.
Oof.
And it's not, and surely, and that would have been, if I hadn't had it done, it could have obviously been life-threatening. So therefore, and it's not right that you have to do that. So the doctors going on strike is going to impact very heavily on people's.
But what about if Narinder says they've got a good claim on their pay?
Yeah, well, that they may or may not have, but you can't be in danger because the Hippocratic Oath says you can't cause harm.
But David, do you want motivated, happy doctors, or do you want doctors who are overworked, underpaid, and then also looking after you and doing your operations? Where's the appreciation?
Well, the appreciation is in the pay rise that they got last year.
It wasn't enough.
22%.
How would you like to be paid less for your homes?
I would like to be paid
How would you like
a
to be paid?
22% pay rise. Fantastic.
No. OK, so your house costs 100k, but we're only going to give you 50k.
It's the highest,
You'd be really annoyed.
highest in the public sector they got, but they want more.
It's whether they called off their strike when they got the pay rise last year, David, and then the government sort of thought, well, then in that case they're happy, but they weren't happy.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem with the public sector pay generally is that it's never going to be high enough, because at the end of the day it's the taxpayer or through borrowing that it's paid through.
Okay, thank you so much. Stephen Aberdeenshire, hi.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Do you support the doctors' strike?
Yes.
Tell us why.
Well, for everybody, cost of living, and I think that when you're actually looking at saving lives that they do, and sadly, yes, there is the waiting list, there is a knock-on effect and so forth, and not digressing into any other topic by any means, there's so much jumpy about migrants coming in and, and taking over the jobs of the UK, and that's where I'm going to leave it. If we're on about training our own and so forth, then that means train the people in the UK, give them the skills and so forth. And what's come out the woodwork recently is the volume of nurses that want to train to be nurses, obviously.
I don't understand how this. I don't understand what. Sorry. I don't understand what you're saying, because what you're not arguing for them to go on strike. Quite the opposite.
I think they should.
Why?
He's saying that we need to retain them, and if we want more British students to go into medicine and to be a lucrative job, we've got to pay them.
What about
Otherwise,
Claudia?
you'll get foreign doctors. I think that's what Steve's trying to say.
Claudia, you respond to Steve.
I think the trouble is that, and this is a classic Labour issue in my view, is that they gave this 22% pay rise with no strings attached. So what
strings should have been attached?
So what you do when you're negotiating in business is you say, we'll give you this, but you give us this.
They're already giving. They're giving all their life.
For example...
But you mean no strike for 3 years?
For example, we will not strike for 3 years.
Yeah.
Perfect. Easy, done, deal done.
But the 22% wasn't what they wanted. They wanted the full 29%, was it?
But then why did they go back to work?
Because I don't know, but I think they said over the next 5 years we'll do an increment.
Is it?
And now they've kind of backtracked.
But Claudia, if they have fallen behind compared to 2008, then can they not argue they should be restored?
Correct.
Well, that's the thing. They're using a misleading statistic.
Okay.
They're using an index that's been discredited, and we don't even use anymore. They are.
RPI, CPI. Yeah, I know.
They're not lying about what wages they're on. They're not lying.
No,
they're not lying they're overworked.
They're lying
they're
about
not lying they're going to go over to Australia.
Okay.
They're overstating the inflation.
Okay. After the break, we'll take more of your calls on this. Should doctors call off their strikes? They're happening very soon. They're going to be very disruptive, and they want an absolutely socking pay rise. The strikes, they're planning to walk out for 5 days from Friday. Linda in Leicestershire is on the phone. Do you think they should call them off, Linda?
Good morning, Jeremy and everyone.
Hello.
No, I don't think they should strike. The reason being that they've all gone to university, they've done all this training, they knew what pay they would get. They trained.
Let me put that to Narinder, because that's a good point, because some of them are too young to have suffered this so-called pay erosion. They were at school in 2008.
But Linda's saying they knew the wages they were going to get. No, because you expect your wages to increase. You don't go into any job thinking, well, my wages are going to stay the same for 14 years. You expect to have a wage increase. So it's not fair. And I think that as a nation, we should show, we appreciate our doctors. They're saving lives.
But Linda, what do you think?
I do think that she's wrong.
Oh, we're losing you.
They're not all doctors for 14 years.
Yeah.
They've come out of university and they know what their pay rate will be.
Well, no, and they're also in debt, Linda, because obviously we don't pay for their university fees anymore. So they're in £80,000 to £100,000 debt.
Linda.
Every student comes out with debt, enormous debt.
Okay, thank
doctors.
You. Understood. Well, also English, history, but doctors they have a longer course, 6 years to learn it all. Thanks, Linda. Betsy in Durham, do you think they should call off their strike?
No, I don't. G'day, guys. I'm from Australia, where all your doctors seem to come and live.
Well, we were just talking in the break about, is Australia as good as they say?
Well, there's a few things. We have a considerably smaller population to the UK, so I guess you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
But my husband's English, so we've moved back to the UK, and I do love it here, but I do think we are the lucky country in Australia.
Yeah. What do you miss most, the insects or...?
The weather.
Well, see, we don't have to worry. We've got fabulous doctors who are there on hand to help us with the insects and the snake bites.
Oh.
I think honestly, I'm trying to understand the process here. I think the NHS is fantastic and the doctors do a wonderful job. But I do think it's sad that the amount of your skilled, trained professionals do have to leave this country and go somewhere else, even for a few years, to get, I guess, an increase in recoup their studies. And of course, Australia are really benefiting from it because you've got fantastic doctors here, as do we. So it's, let's keep it going.
I don't know. Claudia, that's the point, I suppose. The market in the end, if we force them back to work and they don't think they're paid enough, they leave and that's game over. It doesn't matter about CPI, RPI, whatever. It's just technical.
Yeah, I think what the doctors, or a lot of the junior doctors are saying, which for me is a more legitimate argument, is about their working conditions and their treatment. And I think they would get a lot more public sympathy if they went down that route than they would if they do the, just pay rise after pay rise that are unsustainable. We know that the public purse is stretched as it is.
We have money for Ukraine. We have lots of money.
But
they've already had their 22% pay rise. Now they want 29%. Where does it end? Do we just keep being blackmailed until what they're starting?
Well, full pay restoration. It's not being blackmailed.
Well.
And we have plenty of money for Ukraine.
We did have a weird. I mean, part of this, what's put the figures out of kilter is that weird moment after COVID and Ukraine happened where our inflation went completely gangbusters, and that meant everyone was suddenly poorer,
Apart from pensioners.
We're talking about that later. Yeah, well done. So dogs, pensioners, and anything else today? Thank you,
I
Betsy.
have to leave the country.
John in Norfolk, hi.
Hello, good morning to you.
Do you want the doctors to call off their strike?
Well, my first remark's going to be the lady in white is driving me nuts.
Is it in a good way?
No.
Right.
I mean, when they joined
John,
the
let's
NHS,
chat.
the doctors knew what their pay was. You can't refer back to what it was yesterday. They accepted those conditions, and how you can kind of make sense of what they're referring to is beyond my comprehension.
Well, what do you mean, John? I'm so confused. So they've got to accept their conditions. Why? We're not a third world country. Why do they need to accept these dreadful conditions?
When I went to work, I was told my conditions, my pay. I either accepted it or went elsewhere.
Well, they did accept it, but they're just expecting over 14 years.
Well, they don't accept it because they're going back to 2008, which is not the case.
I hear you.
John, did you keep the same wages for 14 years? Did you have a pay increase?
My son worked for the Ministry of Defence, and his wages were kept down for 10 years.
Right.
Okay, I suppose in the end it is partly that the country's just run out of money. That's partly what's going on here.
We're using this 2008 as a baseline because that was obviously when we had a financial crisis. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why they're using 2008 because it skews their figures to how they want it to look. It gives you these massive percentages, especially when it's paired with the RPI.
2008 was the financial crash.
A much better baseline would be 10 years, 2015. So we look at the last 10 years. Then they have had pay increases. They have. It's only when you look at 2008 and then you use those skewed figures. So, in real terms, they have had, in the last 10 years, they have had pay rises.
But it's not enough. They need a full pay restoration.
All right, John in Norfolk, hi.
Yeah, well, and just...
Go on quickly, yeah.
Going to the other subject about the water companies, there used to be a law about profiteering. Why don't you apply that to the chairmen of the water companies and lock them up?
Thank you, John. Yeah, water jails again. Julie in Somerset, hi.
Hello, good morning.
Should the doctors call off their strike, Julie?
I would like them to call off their strike, but I understand fully why they're doing it. I am a retired registered general nurse. I chose to go into operating theatres because I absolutely loved it. And doctors and nurses work jolly hard, and we study, and we have to learn quickly, and we have to keep going all the time. Every doctor I have ever worked with, anaesthetist, surgeon, physician, deserves every penny he gets.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. Accountants work very hard as well.
But
people who work in schools work very hard.
Yes, but it's different. Believe you me, it's different.
It is?
We all work very hard, fair enough. But why are we always at the bottom of the pile? I'm told there's no money.
Claudia,
you're not at the bottom of the pile. The doctors have received the highest pay rise in the public sector. So I would say that's the top of the pile.
But that doesn't make it
Julie?
enough pay.
It doesn't make up for what the training we had to do, the studying they had to do, the way they work. Dedication shouldn't be penalised. This is what I'm trying to say to you.
I think they're awarded for that over a lifetime of being a doctor. I think the earning capabilities of a doctor over a lifetime are significantly higher because of the training that they do.
Julie, thank you.
So
Jade in Kent. Thank you, Julie. Jade in Kent, hello.
Hi, Jeremy.
Should the doctors call off their strike?
Yes, they should. So I'm actually one of the dreaded physician associates that everybody is slating at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think they should be slating you, actually, funny enough. I think you've been very badly treated there.
Yeah, and that's because the BMA is a militant organisation, and I'm actually a registered dietitian as well and an advanced clinical practitioner. So I've done 8 years' worth of university, and nobody is talking about the fact that we've got all these PAs being made redundant when a lot of them are nurses or paramedics or healthcare assistants that are actually trying to assist the doctors by paying out to do this extra training, and we've just been pushed to the wayside. And you've got the doctors debating about patient safety, saying that all these additional roles are not safe.
OK, Jane.
But there's no evidence for it.
Thank you so much. We've just got to go to our break, but I really hear what you say. The physician associates are now being called assistants, and no wonder they're cheesed off. Thank you. Thanks for all your calls on this.